What is happening in 2025? Watching the news makes me feel quite unwell and raises the question, is it even okay to design in times like this? Or is it an egocentric act? Well, that's a quite pessimistic way to view the world, isn't it? I have an optimistic one for you. In this video, let's talk about how to design for a world that doesn't suck. Or better, let's talk about Solarpunk. In this video, I'm going to show you what Solarpunk means, what its key principles are, and how to design for it. My name is Ada Matzes, I'm a product designer, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, one question. Where are you right now watching this video? Maybe you are in a city. Maybe you're in your living room, chilling on your couch. Well, look around yourself. Everything you see is designed in some way, thought of by scientists and engineers, designed by designers, shaped by capitalism. We give things forms, so we know what they are and what purpose they serve. And we make things from certain materials that fit our aesthetic expectations, our tactile desires, and our functional needs. Commonly using the established production systems driven by fossil fuels and human labor, keeping costs as low as possible to stay competitive and maximize profit. But the real cost is insanely high, making every short-term profit worthless and neither stable nor resistant on a long-term level. If we continue as we started, we will erase ourselves, at least a majority of the population. Maybe the rich will survive, maybe they won't, but right now we are literally putting ourselves into one of cyberpunk dystopian realities that we've pictured out so clearly in pop culture. But what makes design so important? Well, design is a huge indicator of the technology of our time. It says a lot about the society we're living in. It decides how we live. It shapes what we can do and what we can't. And it's also not always inclusive. Think about train stations without elevators. For a whole group of people, independent travel is basically impossible. And that's not an accident. That is design. Or products that break just after a few years. That's also design. Planned obsolescence. I think about my toaster that I had for like 2 years and just burned after that. But well, design can be a driver for innovation. Yes. Where would we be without it? I mean, I thank my washing machine every week because I wouldn't like to do it by hand. And I thank my phone because I can reach anybody, while I also curse it because anybody can reach me. Design drives innovation, it reflects our society, but it also consumes resources we don't really have anymore. And here's the thing, the impact of our design, of our industrial revolutions is so massive that it defines an entire era. We are living in the Anthropocene, a time where humans, our consumption and the way we produce things literally shape the planet. Not only for us, but for every ecosystem around us. It impacts biodiversity, it impacts the climate, it impacts everything. That's why I believe we need to rethink design. Not just design for human needs, not just design for status symbols, but design for visions, for future visions. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to design for a dystopian future. I want to design activist objects for an optimistic future. If we follow the trail of the Anthropocene, we could be directed into a variety of future visions. And one of those futures is very close to our current state. It's called cyberpunk. We've already pictured it very clearly in pop culture, in movies and games like Cyberpunk, Blade Runner, The Matrix, Star Wars, and are you ready? Here coming some more.
Federal Angel, Minority Report, Ready Player One, Transcendence, Dark City, Film Legacy, Ghost in the Shell, iRobot, Seven F Men, Altered Carbone, 12 Monkeys, Robocop, Akira, Archive, Machina, Priest,
Chappie, and so much more. Cyberpunk dystopias are about mass production, domination by technology, techno-feudalism, and honestly, it feels very real already. But I believe it's a decision where we direct ourselves. We could also choose another way, the Solarpunk way. Solarpunk describes a vision of a decentralized world where people live in harmony with nature, supported by technology. So, to put it simply, Solarpunk stands for a few key things. First, renewable energy. We need to move away from fossil fuels. Solar, wind, algae, fungi, whatever keeps us off coal and oil. Second, decentralized production. Using resources locally, keeping them in cycles and managing waste better. I'm a big fan of 3D printers because they're like the start of decentralized production. Right now, you can send data across the world and print an object locally. I will talk more about this in another video. Third, community and inclusivity. Systems that are fair, diverse and supportive, not biased by gender, ethnic background, religion or wealth. Short disclaimer, I have an activist project about that where I need your stories and your support. I will talk about this in the end of the video, so stay tuned. And fourth, technology in harmony with nature. Robots, AI, machines. All of this could be powered in ways that actually help us thrive with ecosystems, with animals, with plants, flora, fauna, fungi, instead of destroying them. Because we are not on top of creation in this world. We are just starting to understand how our nature works yet. So, how can we imagine that? Let me give you one rough, quick example. Think about farming. Robots could help us move away from monocultures into permaculture. They could scan plants, water them correctly, harvest without destroying soils, and keep our ground healthy for the future. Applying automation where we really need it, because with the current ways, we are leaving almost dead soil behind. And honestly, I can't wait for that. I'm a big believer in democratization of robots and AI for applications like that. If you think that optimism sounds naive, I don't think it is. Because Solarpunk doesn't close its eyes for the danger, it asks, what if we could use technology to thrive with nature instead of going against it? What if we could start seeing ourselves as communities again? So Solarpunk is basically a rebellion for hope. As a designer, I ask myself, what if we could design products that are actually beneficial for our ecosystems? What if we could make something that leads us more towards a Solarpunk future? Because Solarpunk design focuses on creating inclusive and decentralized solutions that benefit our ecosystems. And I really like this movement because it is not radical. You know, it doesn't say if you're not 100% self-sufficient, you don't belong here. No, it always chooses the way of diversity. It is about planting little seeds that will sprout somewhere and make a whole big impact altogether. There isn't this one big solution on how to design for Solarpunk. At least that's what I believe. And most importantly, Solarpunk is about inspiring people, giving them an idea of a future they actually want to live in. Because without visions, we fall back into resignation. And Solarpunk can be such a great playground to fetch some ideas and try to imagine what a future where we actually live with our nature together could look like. It's my playground for new ideas, a check of perspective, a drive, a reason. I want every object I design to be an artifact of that optimistic future. So, the question now is, how can we design for Solarpunk? I don't think there's this one universal answer. We need to explore how. But one approach that I really think fits into that is the material-centered design approach. As the name says, It's about designing, starting with the material properties. So we can have a more mindful, less wasteful way of making things and designing in a time with limited resources. This is fungi. This approach also refers to something called the Krebs cycle of creativity by Mary Oxman. Let me show you. For me, she's a role model and an idol. She's a professor and a researcher at MIT. Actually, I think her work really represents the spirit of Solarpunk. The Krebs cycle of creativity basically describes that when we fuse art, science, engineering and design, that's when real innovation happens. Innovation that doesn't just create new stuff, but is beneficial. And I think with that cycle in mind, we can design for Solarpunk. So I personally like to fuse art and design. And I think with 3D printing, we have so much more freedom in designing a form that is really artistic. And that's why I make funky objects, all with a character. Because I don't just want to make generic forms. I want objects with souls, with names, with stories, and each one is an ambassador of a Solarpunk future. That brings me to my last point and the teaser I said in the start of this video. For me, design is activism. It's environmental activism because I want to make sustainability visible. And it's also activism for diversity, acceptance and respect for us as humans. To achieve that, we have to stand up against gender norms and suppression. And that's why I started Klitzilla. Klitzilla is a feminist art and design project. It was born from anger, but also brings a lot of joy. And it's about creating a character and a symbol that expresses rage, sexuality and empowerment, that makes space for every gender and everybody. Because I believe design isn't just about solving functional problems, it's about shaping futures. It's about making visions visible. It's about artifacts of resistance and hope. So, this is where I leave you for today. This was my introduction to Solarpunk and how I'm exploring it through robotics and activism. And in the next videos, I will dive deeper into these topics. Mycelium materials, decentralized production, democratized robots. If this resonates with you, please subscribe, share and let me know in the comments. What would a Solarpunk artifact of the future look like for you? See you next time. Bye bye!